welcome back. So if you made it this far, we probably got an offer unless you requested some information and the girls just sent this over to you. So I have a checklist of what happens once we go under contract. So I always like to say congratulations on the offer, congratulations on the contract. But I'm sure as you know now, with due diligence period, the buyer can terminate the contract within that due diligence period and get their earnest money back. So once we get through the due diligence period, we can high five, celebrate, open up the champagne, and start to celebrate that, hey, we got through it. So what I want to talk about is congratulations, what happens next. So first of all, we will change the status in the MLS to under contract, continue to show. Our showings will probably slow down, and most of the time people don't see homes that are under contract. However, we still can. So that is something that will happen. So you will do a conference call. That is with our closing department with Gwen. If you're buying a house as well, you'll meet with Gwen, or at least do a conference call, a few conference calls as well. But she's going to go over what happens through week by week process in regards to what you need to do with your checks that come in the mail to you, what's going to happen with inspections, when inspections are, closing dates, things along those lines. So as you're doing your conference call, one of the more important things that you're going to receive in the next few weeks after that is your seller information sheets. Those are from the attorney, and they usually send those directly to us. All right, we're going to send those to you. You need to fill them out in detail. They're going to ask for your mortgage information, your social, home address, and all that fun information, your contact information. Send it directly back to the attorney's office. Don't send it to us. We don't need it. The attorneys will. Do not wait on that. We've had a lot of people, more than enough, wait to turn those back in to the attorney's office. And sometimes it takes a week or 2 weeks for a payoff, and it can delay a closing a week or 2 weeks potentially, especially if you wait. So get the seller information sheets back to the attorney's office the moment you get those, if possible. So your due diligence money, that is more than likely going to be coming in the mail, or it's going to come to the office. You can pick it up, whatever is easiest. We generally put it in the mail and cash it. The moment you get it, let us know. Take a picture of it, text it to us, cash it. Don't hold on to it. That's your money. All right. The buyer, if they buy the house, they will get credit for that money at closing. But otherwise, earnest money, that's going to go to the attorney's office. The attorneys will hold that money until closing, and they will get credit. Now, if they decide during the due diligence period, the buyers, you know what, we just get cold feet and we're terminating, they will get that earnest money back. Okay. Now, if they go over that due diligence money, I know we've talked about this before, they will lose that money if they go over the due diligence period. All right. So what all inspections are they going to do? If you haven't bought a house in a while, you know, it could be news to you, but they could be doing a lot of inspections. So general inspection is one. Some folks can do a HVAC inspection. Some people could look at the roof. There's also potential for radon here in certain parts of the area that people could do a test for. Most folks are going to do termites. Lenders will, require a termite inspection. And then some people will do a survey. And just a heads up on the survey people, you might say, Clay, Dan, Mike, Gwen, Tatiana, hey team, I need a day notice on, the survey people coming out for whatever reason. They have a mind on their own. They say, hey, they're coming on Tuesday, and they show up on Monday morning at 8 o'clock. Basically, if the survey folks come out, they'll put flags, just kind of mark your lot, things along those lines. So if you come home one day, and a lot of companies won't even call us to let us know that they're coming out. So I wish there's something we could do about it, but oftentimes they don't have good communication. Most of our inspections, they're going to give us a day, 2, 4, 7 day notice on when the inspection is going to be. Appraisal sometimes can come in at the last minute, so you're not at home. It's 8:30 in the morning and they want to come at 3:30 in the afternoon. You do not have to be there for any of the inspections. We actually encourage that you're not there because it's a time for the buyer to come in and maybe do some measurements, look at the windows, things along those lines, maybe show a family member, mom, dad, brother, sister, friend, family member, the property. However, you can be there. It's your house. If you want to be there, it's okay with us. It will potentially be a little bit uncomfortable for the buyer and yourself if the buyer does attend their inspection. But It's your house, it's your belongings. Totally okay if you want to be there. But just most of our clients would agree that it's not the most comfortable place to be during the inspection. So once the inspections take place, we will get a due diligence request, and that is basically a repair request asking for us to do X, Y, and Z repairs. All right, we have some contractors who can help out. I'm sure you know some friends. You know, some of these things you might be able to do yourself, but they're all negotiable. From top to bottom, everything is negotiable in regards to repairs. So I want to talk about close dates, and it's a little bit early for this video to talk about that, but it's really not, because close dates need to be flexible, right? So it's not, in general, the buyer's fault. It's not the seller's fault. It usually comes back to the lender in regards to the timing. And if you're working with a big bank like SunTrust or Bank of America, very rarely do they close on time, and sometimes they can be a week, 2, 3 weeks late closing. So if you're buying a property, just be careful on who your lender is if timing is important, because essentially the seller can terminate a contract on you. So for us, we always tell our folks, try your best to be flexible. And if you're moving south of Florida on us once you sell your house, and you need to close on this, and you're heading down for a signing down in Florida, but you haven't closed on this, and the lender's a week and a half late, get ready to pay some hotel bills. We had some folks that did that last year, and I tried to tell them that, stay put. We're dealing with SunTrust here, and SunTrust was about 5 weeks late closing a loan. So just the FYI, be flexible in the close dates. If you have movers lined up, go ahead and tell them, or ask them, hey, do you have any flexibility in regards to a day before, a couple days after? In general, it's not going to be 4 to 5 weeks late. That was an extreme circumstance, but it happened. So just remember to be flexible as possible. So as we get closer to that closing date, and we have word from the lender that everything's going to close, that the buyers will want to do a walkthrough. All right, some buyers are flexible if your stuff is still there. In general, it's usually easier to have it packed up the night before or the day before, so the buyer can do their walkthrough and we can go to closing with the house completely free and clear of personal belongings. In regards to cleaning, I personally don't recommend coming in and scrubbing the house from top to bottom, because if you could imagine how much dust you kind of just brought in and kind of kicked up from moving your stuff, the buyer's going to bring in twice as much from outside and all their stuff into the house. A nice courtesy clean is fine, but a deep cleaning usually is going to be over the top. We tell this to all our folks. Some folks, they go ahead and, they're going to clean way too much, but our recommendation is a light cleaning. All right, utility information. You need to call your utilities to cancel them, first of all. Some of them, they won't let the buyer put anything in their name until you do that. But also, we don't like to do it too soon. 3 weeks in advance is too soon. The odds of the lender not closing 100% on time is, I won't say pretty high, but fairly common. That all of a sudden you're in your house for 5 extra days. Now you got to call all 3 or 4 utility companies, depending on where you're at, to, hey, can you turn my service back on? I got to call them to turn them back off. So we like to wait maybe a week or week and a half before closing to start doing those things. Cable, internet, things along those lines. Some people ask me as well, Dan, do I need to pay my mortgage? If we're closing on the 1st of the month, let's say, or the very end of the month, probably not. But as we start to get into the first, second week, it's easier to go ahead and pay the mortgage, because any money that you pay over, they will give you back after closing in the check, because more than likely they're going to have escrow dollars for taxes and things along those lines. So definitely pay your mortgage. If we're closing on the 1st of the month, different story. So that kind of comes along to the next point with our tax dollars. So at closing, on the actual CD, on your closing disclosure statement, I know we talked about this in the last video, and part of your closing cost is pretty much paying your taxes. So you could be paying your taxes all year into an escrow account to your bank, right? But at closing, if the bill hasn't been paid, you will pay that at closing. I guarantee you will pay that. But on the flip side, the escrow company, whoever your mortgager is, they will have a check for you. So if you overpay for your mortgage and we close a little bit sooner, they will refund all that money, and they have 30 days to get it back to you. Usually have escrow dollars for taxes and insurance, usually 1 year homeowners insurance, maybe with a couple months tagged onto it. But at the end of the day, that money's yours. So if you're receiving, let's say, 20 or 22,000 back at closing, depending on your price point, what you had in escrows, and what time of year, you can expect anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000 extra after closing. Okay. Now, on the close date's flexible, I wrote that down twice because it seems like a lot of our folks kind of close their ears when they hear that. But once again, more than likely it's not the buyer. More than likely it's the lender who kind of holds things up. So just to kind of give you an idea on, closing and being flexible. Kind of the next process, step in the process, once we get through inspections, repairs, you get the seller information sheets over to the attorneys, is actually going over your closing statement. I know in the last video I talked about what your closing statement is going to consist of. You'll have the net offer amount, any due diligence money that you have received. They'll subtract whatever the loan amount was, and then your closing cost. Your side is fairly self-explanatory. It's pretty easy. You have 4 or 5 deductions, and then you have what you're going to get back at closing. If you have to bring money to closing, that's not good, but you should be getting a check back. So just so you know, on your closing the statement. Now, a lot of people will say, hey, we deal with a lot of people who are out of town, folks who have rental properties here, and or just are going to be out of town on work or travel. And they can do what we can often do as a power of attorney. So either we can sign for you, a friend or family member can sign for you, or we can do mail away documents where we overnight it to you, they overnight it back, or you guys overnight it back. It does cost a little bit extra money, but essentially the question we often get is, do we have to be in town? No, you don't. So we can take care of pretty much everything, and we do that often actually. So next part is, how do you get paid? Where is the money? Show me the money, Carolina real estate expert. So you can either pick up a check from the attorney's office with your funds, or you can bring a voided check with you, and with the voided check they can wire that directly into your account. Sometimes there's a $15, $20, $30 fee to do that. Other attorneys are free, but if you don't want to come back up or you're out of town, generally that's usually the best way to do it. And then at closing, we're going to need garage door openers, any extra keys to the house, or anything the buyer might need in regards to booklets, manuals, any sort of warranties, anything that we would have bought beforehand that might have a warranty that goes with it. But that is pretty much it. That's a wrap. We'll hold your hand through the whole process. You're going to have 2 conference calls during this process. One when you go under contract. We usually like to do that within 24, 48 hours of going under contract. If it's on the weekend, it could be on a Monday or Tuesday following. But usually about 2 weeks before, we'll go through a lot of the same information, and should make your life pretty easy once you watch this. So that is, I think, a wrap. So if there's anything else, you can always ask Gwen, myself, one of our listing partners, your agent, whoever you're working with on our team. But I think that's that. If you stuck with me through this whole thing, I think you're doing well, and that's quite a bit of information. So watch this a couple times if you need to, and if you need some clarity, reach out to us. But once again, thanks for your business. Thanks for the opportunity to help you guys. Any referrals, we love to help friends and family, and it's an honor for us to have that opportunity. But appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you at the closing table, and talk to you soon.